Hello, Blazers. Welcome to episode 101 of UAB Green and Told, original debut Monday, July 3rd, 2023. Through this podcast, we're able to share stories from members of the UAB community. Want to listen into previous episodes? Check us out at alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold on Spotify or the Apple Podcast app. While there, leave a written review that'll help other alums find us. I'm Greg Berry, a UAB alum and Director of Communications in the Office of Alumni Affairs. Today's guest of the podcast is an up-and-comer in the enterprise technology world. With customers like Boeing and Northrop Grumman, Valentine Nwachukwu was named to Forbes' 2023 30 Under 30 list for enterprise technology. And as he'll share, his company is growing at an incredible clip.
If we continue at this pace, we could easily be a billion-dollar company in the next 3 years.
A first-generation immigrant from Africa, Valentine will share why he credits his dad with much of his success.
He wanted to show me that, hey, instead of buying this, you can actually write your own games and nerd out with me about it. And, he thought I wouldn't bite on the bait, and I did.
Plus, little-known fact, Valentine is actually a prince, a nugget this royal doesn't readily reveal.
It's not like the British where you're like a duke, baron. For me, I guess we have those. We call them chiefs, but I'm a prince. That would be my official title.
Once you know his backstory, you can probably dub Valentine Nwachukwu Prince of Enterprise Technology. A humble alum, Valentine usually doesn't share much about being a prince, but will share pretty much anything else about his past. While his dad was instrumental in his life, he really didn't enter the picture until Valentine was a tween. Up until that time, Valentine had spent his life in Nigeria.
I grew up there till I was 11. And the best way to describe it is a country that's blessed with a lot of resources, a lot of smart people, but unfortunately cursed with poor management and very little opportunity for those folks. So growing up there, we had really good schools up until when I left to come here. And we use the British system, so I would say up till primary and secondary is pretty good there. So we had strong focus in mathematics, science, and so that was really good. But obviously, there's a huge wealth gap. So in one road, you see a bunch of G-Wagons, and then in that same road, you also see a lot of people begging in the streets and just poverty-stricken. So that's kind of the I guess the lens I grew up in, is just seeing both parts of the world there, and really understanding that to make it here, you really have to work really hard, to capture the very few opportunities there.
Did you come from a big family, small family? What was the family structure?
Yeah, so in terms of my nuclear family, or just within my mom and my dad, it's just me and my brother, my older brother. So he's autistic, but the wider is different. Their familiar units are more extended. Okay. So you have lots of cousins, and in that case, I have about probably close to over 300 cousins. My granddad was a polygamist, so it has something to do. It was a royal family. I come from a royal family, so there's a way to capture power. He had like 4 wives. My grandmom was the first of the 4, and so lots of kids. My dad was one of, I think, 8 or 9, and then it's kind of similar for the other wives, and we had other cousins. Just huge family. We have a whole Nwachukwu Day that we do on January 1st, just to gather all the people that's part of the family, which is an entire village. If you could imagine all of downtown Huntsville being your family, essentially.
Wow, that's incredible. I want to explore the royal angle a little bit. I didn't know that. Yeah. When it comes,
I usually don't mention it because I try not to let it define me as much,
Yeah. No, but it's an interesting part of who you are, though.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the royal structure of your family, do you have a certain title? Do you have a certain moniker?
Yeah, I'm a prince. So because I'm part of I guess I'm in the crown line, the first wife, my grandmom. So, but for her to, it's not like the British where you're like a duke, baron. For me, I guess we have those. We call them chiefs, but I'm a prince. That would be my official title, Prince Valentine.
So when you do finally work it into conversation, how do you get people to understand what it is, and how do you kind of slide it in there? Hey, you know what? I I am a
So
prince.
best way to describe it, well, just like this, like I'm from a royal family in Nigeria, and it's not like your Buckingham Palace. There are many princes. There are many royal families, especially in the Igbo tribe, which is the tribe I'm from in Nigeria. And the best way to describe how I guess the ruling populace is think about the mayor of a city here.
Okay.
So is the monarchy counterpart of a mayor here. So that's kind of the crossover.
Your family decided when you were 11 to make a change and you left Nigeria.
Yeah.
What was behind that decision and where did you land?
So my dad had actually been here. He's the one who first, I guess, stepped over here. He came in the 70s to University of Chicago to study engineering. At some point between then and 1993, I was born. She met my mom, I think in the late 80s, but she had stayed behind with us. I didn't actually get to see my dad till I was 11 because he had fallen sick and couldn't travel back to Nigeria. So it's mainly raised by my mom. There was some family politics there that prevented my mom from coming here. Not to go into it too much. Basically, the family had refused her coming to the U.S. because there was a fear that she would come here and leave my dad. Blah 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 blah. A lot of family politics in these royal families, but
Yeah.
the result of that is that I ended up not seeing my dad till I was 11. And growing up during those years, I had always been different. And there wasn't anyone in my family that was similar to like my mom's personality and I are just kind of like very opposite. I was very relieved when I finally got to meet my dad here. I was like, oh shoot, this is where I get these behaviors from, or this is the type of thinking it comes from you. And I got along really well with him. And you probably saw the piece on the Forbes. He's actually the one who taught me programming, and just joking around because he wanted to show me that hey, instead of buying this, you can actually write your own games and nerd out with me about it. And he thought I wouldn't bite on the bait, and I did. But that's essentially what happened. Is later on, after the family politics more or less was relaxed, and at that point, my dad needed help, because he had fallen ill over here. He was diabetic, kidney failure. My mom ended up joining, and then we joined later on because they wanted me to finish my primary school there.
Okay.
And then I came here after primary six, which will put me at about technically sixth grade here in middle school, sixth and seventh grade. Actually, they wanted me to go on to eighth grade, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to get bullied as an 11-year-old in eighth grade. So I chose seventh grade, still got bullied. So I should have just went with the first option. But yeah, that was the journey to America, and it was one that I was very, very grateful for, because I was a U.S. born citizen already, but it was good to finally be over here, and but still be, even though I was a citizen, still be a first generation immigrant.
What city did you guys come to?
Huntsville.
It
Huntsville.
was
So
Huntsville.
at some point, my dad had relocated from Chicago to Huntsville
Okay.
because every engineer comes to Huntsville for a job.
Exactly. I do want to talk about the kind of your childhood when you first got to America. Most kids when they're growing up, they are playing PS2, they're playing Nintendo 64, whatever the platform is at the time. Your dad had a different approach to
Right.
it where you weren't necessarily playing those games, and I'm sure you were sneaking probably over to a friend's house and stuff like that, but he got you into C++. What was that experience like?
It was really fun, actually. I've always been very curious about how things worked. And once he told me, he kind of explained Unity. 3D, which is one of the engines for making games, is written in C++. Once he explained, hey, this is like the language that they use to write these games, I was very intrigued, and we wrote Conway's Game of Life. It's like very popular C++ program you can write together, and I just saw like you could tell these computers to do whatever you want, right? And they'll do it. As someone who is very creative and wanted to build things, that really intrigued me. His approach was basically to tap in on that curiosity, that natural curiosity that I had. Because we thought exactly the same. So like there was a computer in the room. It wasn't one of those parents that would say, yeah, don't touch it because I don't want you breaking anything. It was very much like, go learn, and if you have questions, I'll teach you what you don't know, type of approach. And basically after he started teaching me programming, that was a very strong bonding experience between he and I, because he was sick. He basically was a stay-at-home dad. So really, at some point, I became the caretaker of him and my brother. But we spent a lot of time together. Like he would teach me stuff about programming, mathematics. He was very good at mathematics. Though I think I ended up becoming better, but a lot of people would disagree on that. But yeah, that was basically it. There was never, most people from the Nigerian community, you're given 3 options: engineer, doctor, or lawyer. He never like took that approach with me, right? It was, what do you want to do? When I showed interest in soccer, he put me in soccer. When I showed interest in programming, like if it had gone another way and I said, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't think I would have been forced to do it. So I really like that approach, and that's how I am like with my kids, is what help them be part of their journey and their adventure is what I would say is what the approach you took.
Being in an engineering community in Huntsville, you have an engineering school right in your backyard. You decided to leave to get your undergrad and come to Birmingham. What was the driving force behind that decision?
So remember when I said you get 3 choices: engineer, doctor, or lawyer? So my mom's side of the family, a lot of them were like into medicine. And it naturally, because of my brother, like him being autistic and me being very curious and trying to understand, like was as a kid, I weirdly remember memories when I was 4 or 5. And us playing together and all that. And just as we got older, what I noticed that I got smarter and he kind of just like stagnated around, like I would say around 5, 6 mentality. And so I was very curious about how the brain worked and trying to see if I can basically fix him. So I decided to go into, and I was also influenced by some, you're gonna crack up, anime. Ghost in the Shell was one of my favorite anime, and in there, there was a lot of human and machine interaction, like building cyborgs. Essentially, it was a better like definition of cyborgs than what you would see in like Terminator. But the emphasis that the show had is how you would use technology to solve very complex biological problems. And I kind of saw that as maybe this is the untapped way of solving my brother's autism. So I looked up basically all the schools that had strong biomedical engineering focus, and UAB was one of them. Actually, I had gotten into this gets sadder, but the other reasons I wasn't sure engineering or medicine, which I wanted to do, quite plainly. That was the first reason. The second reason is because the autism. Third reason, I had actually gotten into Harvard's early medical acceptance program, but I decided not to do that because right before my graduation from high school, around April, my dad passed. Oh. So my mom was by herself here in Huntsville. So I don't know. I couldn't back then leave her and go so far away to Boston. And it was still very expensive to go to that school, even with any scholarship you were going to get. So UAB had the same rigor, quite honestly, based on what I was looking as Princeton, especially with the biomedical engineering program there. So it was only an hour and a half away from Huntsville. So it kind of checked all the boxes. And finally, actually, when my dad was going through a lot of his checkups for his kidney issues, we spent a lot of time at UAB Hospital. And to find out that they had even better or just as good of a biomedical engineering program really attracted me to the school.
What was campus like? Because this is the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yes. Campus was fun, actually. I rarely went home. I actually became an RA second semester of my freshman year. So I got to just really embed myself in campus and residence life.
As you approached graduation and you finally got the diploma, what was the plan? What did you want to do with that?
So I was pre-med up until literally after I graduated. I was like, you know what? There's all these ideas. I was always in conflict. I did research the whole time I was there. I wanted to do MD, PhD. And when I started really calculating the number of years, it boiled down to this. And I had all these ideas of like products I wanted to build. And knowing that it would take me about 10 years before I could do that if I didn't want to lose my mind while trying to balance, building a company and being a med student, I just chose to do engineering. And I didn't want to be a doctor like 15 years after education doing surgery and just thinking, what if, right? I didn't think that was a good way to be a civil citizen. So I just chose to do engineering and try to figure it out that way.
You touched on Zaden just briefly, and that's your current company where you serve as CEO. Talk about what led to that company getting there and then just its growth over the last 3-4 years.
Quite funny. Zaden was actually formed while I was at UAB, informally.
Okay.
I was building websites for people to make extra bucks. So I would market myself as Zaden. I didn't know crap about business. I made it an LLC while I was at Northrop because I just continually kept getting people asking me to help them build this, build that. At that point, I had become a manager. I was like, oh man, now I need to start outsourcing. So I started outsourcing some of my projects, and that's how I learned about, more about budget management. But the current instance of Zaden as it is today was actually started in 2019. When myself, Jason West and Alex Monet, we met at Northrop, and we solved a lot of problems where, almost impossible, where you were asked to deliver 9 months of work in about 6 weeks. So in order to do something like that, you need to have strong automation, strong discipline into, making sure you're not sacrificing quality while moving at like light speed. After I was thinking at Northrop, we all kind of dispersed. I went to Amazon. Jason stayed a little bit with Northrop, and then Alex went to Uptake and Ken and Carter. But when we got back that November of 2019, we were just talking shop and realized the problems that we were solving while we were at Northrop were still prevalent in other industries. At Amazon, we saw issues with delivery, being on time and with quality, or enterprise engineering teams being put in this pressure to deliver. But it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to customers because you push so hard and that you forget quality. You push so hard that you're losing sleep. I mean, I slept at office many times while I was in that team at Northrop. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay, we need to start solving these problems like we did once and really democratize our automations and skill set to the wider population. At that point, I had changed the slogan. It was initially evolving ideas into smart technologies, basically showing, hey, we can build you anything, to now is automating a smarter future, because now we're saying we want to do it so that people generations downstream never have to feel the pain that we felt, right? And that people know how better to use technology to achieve. You always get the people tell you pick two. Cost, schedule, quality, right? We're basically saying you can have all three if you choose the right automation, if you really use unrivaled, use automation to meet this unrivaled speed, use automation and build in the quality as part of your gates. So, it's not something that is a man in the middle, because humans introduce a lot of errors. That's what basically led to what Zaden is too, is all those experiences that we've gathered and the pain points, and really the anger of trying to challenge the status quo and saying, no, we really believe that you can do all three of these at the same time. That's what Zaden is. Always moving fast, making sustainable long-term decisions, making reversible decisions, two-way decisions. So all these things is really what Zaden is. As soon as we formed in November 2019, COVID hit. I had quit Amazon, and basically we had to self-fund the Zaden throughout 2020. Spent a lot of time on building the business plan, the culture. We got a chance with Northrop April 2021. At that point, we were making like 27,000 monthly recurring revenue. And then we've just kept delivering results and showing that, hey, this is not just theory. We can actually show you what we're saying. And today we're up to about 310,000 monthly recurring revenue doing the same thing. We've got a product now, Olympus, that essentially captures all this automation we've been doing and saying, hey, let's sell you this as a product. This is what we have internally. Now we can, again, democratize that to everyone as a product that you can use and get the same results that you pay us as consultants to get.
The trajectory for Zaden is just kind of going up, like a roller coaster.
Yeah. That's good and bad, but mostly good, right? Obviously, but yeah, we're feeling the growing pains, but I could not believe how successful we've been. And even I say that, but I'm also a very tough critic of the company and myself, because I see so many things that we could be doing better. I feel like this could easily be if we continue at this pace, we could easily be $1 billion company in the next 3 years. We have solid individuals, really good team, really good foundation. Everyone here is dedicated to the mission, is really strong technologists that also care about the people using it. We're different because we're always thinking about the end user. We want to make things better for them, genuinely want to make things better for them. And I say there's one of our DNA codes is creating the most lovable products. And that's what that means, is that the product is really addicting, because it's so intuitive, is so empathetic to the end user that they love it immediately. It's the most lovable product. You can't have anything better than it, and that's what we strive to continue creating at Zaden.
Forbes recently named you on its 30 under 30 enterprise technology list. How humbling was that for you?
That was actually a life goal. I really wanted to make that list, and this is literally my last year to make it. But I was very humbled. It was finally like, I actually cried when I saw that, because one, it was, as someone who's so self-critical, finally seeing that, okay, all that work you've been doing is now validated, right? Even if it's just some article, right? Just being on that list is, if you look at the people who've been on that list, it's showing me that, hey, you're on the right track, right? And then second, it gave me a chance to tell the story about my dad. And I try not to tear up whenever I talk about it, but if not for that 6 years or less than 6 years I spent with him, I genuinely would not be here. Like the things he taught me in that short years. And as a dad now, it's like the importance of fatherhood. I love my mom, not that I haven't mentioned her. She is a huge part of my success as well. But there's a huge difference, like having a dad present makes, and even if it's for like 6 years, and if not for the teachings or the experience I gained from him while he was alive, I know I wouldn't be here right now, running this company, because all I've done, all the successes I've led from that C++ book that he gave me and teaching me, how to write code and be a nerd with him when it comes to programming. So it was good to kind of finally, if you will, imprint his contribution in my life in an article like that's never going to go away.
That's Valentine Nwachukwu. Valentine completed his undergraduate degree in biomedical engineering in 2014 from the School of Engineering and Honors College. Today, he serves as CEO of Zayden Technologies in Huntsville, a company that delivers DevSecOps, a type of application security, and other products to enterprise software teams. As a first-generation immigrant, Valentine definitely has his own idea of what it means to be a Blazer.
Every time I've thought about UAB, I think is a very underrated school, quite honestly. The folks I've met throughout my career have gone to Stanford, Caltech, whatever, and at no point have I felt that I wasn't on the same level as them. And as a Blazer, it's like this humble person that you would never think has all this experience, all this rigor, all this intelligence. That's what UAB is to me. It's like, is this hidden gem that has so much great faculty, amazing research, research bodies. When someone's looking at the Stanfords and Cal, most people will overlook UAB, but if you give it a shot, you actually find that, one, you're getting a cheaper education cost-wise for, if not the same, but better quality of education as, those Ivy League schools.
Be sure to check out past episodes of the UAB Green and Told podcast. Listen in at alumni.uab.edu/Green and Told. Have a story to share or know someone who does? Email greenandtold@uab.edu. Finally, be sure to follow us on social media. Just search UAB Alumni on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for listening, and until next time, go Blazers.